Lit. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the lit. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the lit. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the lit. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the
Good evening, and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this evening. Welcome back to the channel, and lots to talk about tonight. I hope we've all calmed back down after last night's over-exuberance with the excitement department, and I think we need a little bit of a reality check. Yeah, I do think that we need a little bit of a reality check when you see some of the scorelines that have came in tonight in the Champions League. As it stands just now, Celtic are still 13th in the Champions League, sitting on 7 points. But there's a lot of games still to be played this evening, and there's a lot of teams that are sitting on the 4-point mark that could potentially overtake us, and even the 3-game mark in the 4 points. Atalanta, they're sitting on 5 points. They'll be looking to try and win to get above us in the table. And Stuttgart are sitting on 4 points. PSG sitting on 4 points with only minus 1 goal difference. So if they score any kind of goals tonight, those two teams they could possibly go above us, and that would then push Celtic back down just a little bit. But I don't think that we're going to head back down too much. But then you've got Benfica, you've got Barcelona all playing tonight. You've got Feyenoord playing tonight also. So, I do expect Celtic to drop down the table to maybe around about 17th by the end of the evening. And even if we do end up at 17th by the end of the evening, it's still going to be a fantastic position for Celtic to be in, heading into the later stages of the league phase of the Champions League. So we're just going to jump straight into the news because there's lots to talk about this evening. Celtic have banked. I'm going to start off with the money first of all. Up until this point, Celtic have banked another £31.5 million this season from the Champions League. Clubs are rewarded £1.8 million for a win and £583,000 for a draw in the league phase. So Celtic have banked £4.2 million just from their fixtures, but Celtic would receive £9.2 million on qualifying for the last 16 if they do that. So people were asking last night, what is the financial difference for Celtic getting to the last 16? Well, it's £9.2 million just if we qualify. So if Celtic do manage to qualify for the last 16, it's going to be worth another £9.2 million. Between 9th and 24th, we'll earn £830,000 for reaching the knockout playoffs. So even if we do, it's looking like that we're not going to finish 9th and above. I'm being realistic. I don't think that we will, but we can all pray and hope that we do finish 9th and above. And if we do finish 9th and above, we would go straight into the last 16, which would give us that £9.2 million jackpot. If we get to the playoff position, if we finish between 10th and 24th position, we would get an extra £830,000 for those two remaining games. So the two remaining games are worth £415,000 each to Celtic. And then you've got the hope. If we do get to the knockout phase, which we all hope, if we do get to the knockout phase, it'll be a fantastic achievement. And that carrot, the board will be wanting that extra 9.2 million, you've got to say. It's fantastic money. When you see the money that Celtic already have in the bank, it's crazy to think that at some point this season, the Celtic will be sitting with over £100 million in the bank. That just puts every other team in Scotland into perspective. It does put everything else into perspective, and nobody in Scotland can touch us. Anyway, And more Celtic news that was coming out is obviously the Greg Taylor situation. Now, it does look like Celtic are at risk of losing Greg Taylor, with contracts talks having reached a stalemate. The left-back's current deal was set to expire at the end of the season, and he'll be free to commence negotiations over a summer switch in January. But, as we all know, Celtic will sell him in the January. There's no way that they're going to allow Greg Taylor to hang about to the summer. Greg Taylor will be sold. The fact that Brendan Rodgers did say at the beginning of the season that he hoped that we could get something sorted. He's been a fantastic player. It does look like that Greg Taylor will be leaving Celtic at the next transfer window, which it's not a shock, is it? I mean, it's not a shock to us at all. Anybody that watches this channel knows that we've been monitoring this situation throughout the past couple of months, and Greg Taylor he'll be gone in January. It's as simple as that. With him on the verge of leaving Celtic in January, I mean, it is only just he's running down his Celtic career now. Let's face it. But the player that we do have in on loan, Alex Valle, yes. There's news coming out of Barcelona with Sport.es. Sport.es have come out and said that the sporting management at Barcelona are monitoring Alex Valle, who is the left back position. He's owned by Barca, who's on loan at Celtic, and last season he was on loan at Levante. They said that they have been monitoring his matches. He's played a total of 8 matches and he's provided 3 assists. They are looking, and we all knew this when Alex Valle came in, the fact that Celtic did not get the option to buy from Barcelona. Barcelona didn't want to lose him. They wanted to just get the players some game time, get them games in the Champions League and see how they want him as backup. They do want him as backup. He did star for Barcelona at the beginning of pre-season, but they had cover at that point, and it now looks as if they're wanting Alex Valle to be cover for next season. It's one of those situations where we now know that Celtic next summer will be looking for, at least, if they don't bring any left back in, they're going to have to bring a left back in the next transfer window. And so Celtic will definitely be in the market for a left back. We will have to buy a left back. I don't think that there's anyone at the club that we can risk, even as backup, when we go into the game against Aston Villa towards the end of January. There's nobody at the club that we can say that would be even good backup to Alex Valle, which is unfortunate that there isn't a ready-made player to come through for the B squad. But I need to switch that phone off. It's been dinging all night. It is a situation that we kind of thought that we would get ourselves into, but looks like Alex Valle will definitely be going back to Barcelona. But things could change. And football has a funny old way of working itself out between now and the end of the season. So I'm not going to get overly excited about the fact that, Alex Valle is not our player. He will go back to Barcelona, but it's back to square one. I've just looked at Chilpill's comment. Back to square one with the left back situation. You're right. It's back to square one. Celtic Mad saying we should just buy Alex Valle, but we can't because he's contracted until 2026. Barcelona have an option of a further 2 years on that contract. They are not going to give him up on the cheap. They're definitely not going to give him up on the cheap. And when you look at the way that Barcelona they've got themselves back on a level playing field financially. The fact that they've knocked down the new camp and they're rebuilding it from scratch, they're sitting pretty with. I mean, the people will say that they're still in a financial mess, but when it comes to it, they're going down the route of bringing in youth. They're absolutely flying at the top of La Liga, and I don't think that anyone's going to knock them off top spot this season. And it's a situation where I would love Celtic to be in, where we're bringing through players that are that good that we're loaning them out to teams and they're not getting the option to buy. We're loaning out our younger players to get them game time. and we're loaning them out at leagues, and you're saying, do you know, that all they're doing is they're gaining experience as a professional player. Alex Valle, although he's came from Barcelona, he's on 24 grand a week. I mean, Greg Taylor's on nowhere near that, hence the reason that Greg Taylor's probably went, look, you're not going to pay me the money that I think I should be getting, or that his agent thinks he should be getting, and he's certainly not getting anywhere near 24 grand a week like Alex Valle. So it looks like we're back to square one, and it's a position that has caused so much strife since we sold Kieran Tierney. It's a position where, I mean, we brought Greg Taylor in because we knew we were going to sell Kieran Tierney. He was the replacement, and it was a downgrade, and it was at a time where Celtic were continuously downgrading players. We were always going for a cheaper option once we sold players on. But I did say that Celtic will need to go out and spend some decent money. If Brendan Rodgers knows the type of player he wants, I mean, I said the other evening, I said if Kieran Tierney comes back and on loan until the end of the season with that option to buy, and Celtic can keep him fit, and if Brendan Rodgers thinks that he could stay fit, it wouldn't surprise me if Celtic went in and bid £10 million to get Kieran Tierney out the last year of his contract. Because let's face it, Arsenal are going to sell Kieran Tierney, and I don't think that, in all honesty, I don't think that Liam Scales is as good at left back at Greg Taylor, and definitely not Alex Valle. I mean, I know that Liam Scales can play in that position, but when it comes to it, there's absolutely no way that Liam Scales is good enough to, I mean, in Scottish football, maybe yes, you could say that he is, but he doesn't have the pace and the directness that Greg Taylor and Alex Valle has. I mean, he's good going forward as a defender, but Hatate can play left back, says Chilpel. I don't think we're going to get Hatate going at left back. There's more chance of Hatate being sold this coming summer, because Hatate's stock at Celtic is I think at the highest that it's ever been. Now, I'm not trying to get rid of all our players, I'm not trying to sell our players, but we know the Celtic model, and we'll know that he will know also. And let's face facts, Rio Hatate has said for the past 2 summers that he wants to play at a higher level. He's turning it on in the Champions League now, and I said at the beginning of the season, if Rio Hatate has any ambition to be sold for vast sums of money, like what Jota was sold and Matt O'Reilly, he's going to have to turn it on in the big games in the Champions League, and he's done that. He has done that, so he's getting pass marks for that. He's performing this season when needed to be in the big games, and that's what's going to get him noticed. And I think that he will be the paperweight that will be sold next summer. There's no doubt about it. That I think that we all know that players have a lifespan at Celtic, and I think that Rio Hatate is, unfortunately for us, is coming to the end of his lifespan due to the fact of the financial gains that Celtic will get out of selling Rio Hatate this summer. I think if we were to keep him any longer, I think the valuation of the player would then start going in the other direction, and Celtic don't want that. Celtic will want to maximise the potential return on Rio Hatate. That's why I think that he'll be sold this summer. And when it comes to the Greg Taylor situation, Greg Taylor will be sold in January. It's as simple as that. The fact that there is this stalemate concern when it comes to the the negotiations for wages, we all know that there's only one winner in that situation, and it's Celtic. Celtic will get rid of the player, and they'll get in some money for him, and Greg Taylor will get a pay rise, and he'll go and play his football elsewhere, never to be seen again, and never to win anything again. Let's be perfectly honest. Taylor's a key player for us, paying what he's worth, says Ernest. I've just seen that comment. He is a key player, but Celtic have obviously got a wage bracket system in place that they think that players are worth, and they're only going to pay that out, and it's nowhere near what it used to be under when Scott Brown was playing alongside some fantastic players. I think we have reduced the wage bill a little bit, but not much. But it is what it is. We know the way that Celtic are run. The fact that Barcelona have been keeping tags, and we knew that they would keep tabs on Alex Valle all this season. I mean, he played, I think it was 2 games he played in this pre-season. it is what it is. Brendan Rodgers will have a massive decision to make. Obviously, Celtic will be looking at players as we speak. Celtic will be instructing Paul Tisdale and the staff to get a list of players ready. A list of players ready that can come in the winter transfer window, and definitely a list of left backs that they can go out and spend money on in the summer. It's not ideal. It's not an ideal situation, but you never know what happens in football. Barcelona might turn around and say, Alex Bailly is playing at a good level in Scotland, but does he have what it takes to step up in the La Liga? I think he does. I think that he would fit right into being backup, in that Barcelona team. But you'll wait and see, because they've got a young guy that's 17-year-old that is absolutely smashing it. And just whilst I remember, we do have the one... that was the wrong one. The One Celtic Fans... How did that end up there? The One Celtic Fans View Amazon page, and the Amazon page does have over 300 items on it, which are gifts for Celtic loving fans this Christmas. So make sure you click the link in the description to click on the One Celtic Fans View Amazon shop, and there's plenty of items on the Amazon, the One Celtic Fans View Amazon shop for you to get for your beloved ones this Christmas. Just a wee plug for that. Anyway, we do return to league business this weekend, even though there are games playing tonight. We do return to league business, and we're still sitting top of the league with Aberdeen breathing down our necks. Yep, Aberdeen breathing down our necks on 28 points, whilst the Raiders are way down there in 19th, in Dundee United and Motherwell. We were hoping to close ranks, hopefully this weekend. But there are games in the Champions League tonight. Yes, there are still games in the Champions League, which would be detrimental to where Celtic may end up. And let me just try and get the live matches, the table, because the table should have changed. Yes, the table has changed slightly. Feyenoord are currently drawn. So Feyenoord are currently drawn. So they've jumped up to 15th. Or was that 15? No, they've jumped up to 15th. They've gained a point. Atalanta, and I'm not sure who's playing who. Let me just jump on. But it looks like Celtic may drop, well, they've already dropped down to 14th position. So Celtic started off, when we started the video, Celtic were in 13th position. We're now currently sitting in 14th position, which isn't bad. It's not bad at all. But I don't want us to be slipping down too many points, because I want to try and keep us up there as high as possible, because with the run of games that we've got, there is still that potential. There is that potential. I mean, when you look at the teams that are in, I mean, there was a fantastic result tonight, which would be concerning a lot of Celtic fans, because it's two teams that Celtic play. There was a game that happened tonight earlier on, and it was a bit of a shock. It was a bit of a shock result. Just when I get it up, where is it? Yep, the full-time score. Aston Villa is the last game that we play in the Champions League, and they've been flying. They've won 3 games. Club Brugge, on the other hand, are a team that haven't been doing so fantastically well in the Champions League. But Club Brugge managed to beat, yes, Club Brugge managed to beat, they did manage to beat Aston Villa. So that gives us hope, because Club Brugge is a game that Celtic obviously think that they could win. Club Brugge have lost 2 of their Champions League games, and they've won 2. They're sitting on 6 points with a goal difference of -3. Club Brugge has just moved down a position, I've seen, which means Celtic, no, they haven't. So the table that is live, it's going to be interesting to watch it tonight, and it'll be, I think I'm having an early night, so I think I'll wake up tomorrow morning and check out exactly where Celtic are in the league. But as it stands just now, PSG are sitting on 7 points. We are just in front of them. PSG's just jumped above Feyenoord. So PSG have just jumped above Feyenoord in the league, pushed Feyenoord down to 16th. If PSG score any more goals tonight, They will jump above Celtic, which will push Celtic down to 15th position in the Champions League. Goal difference is going to be a massive, massive thing in the Champions League. And there's one thing for sure, in the games that are coming up, Celtic are going to have to make sure that we win by more than 2 goals in the games. We're going to have to make sure that we win at least by more than 2 goals in the games that we can win, due to the fact that it could determine whether or not that we end up in the top 9. I don't think, sitting in 14th just now, it is still possible. But when you look at the teams that are sitting in top 9, Liverpool top the Champions League as it stands tonight. Sporting are sitting in second place, then Monaco, and then Barcelona have jumped up to 4th position. So it just shows you how quick that teams can jump up this league. Dortmund are back up to 5th in the league, while Barcelona are in 4th position. Barcelona are flying at home anyway. Aston Villa losing that first game against Club Bruges, means that they sit now in 6th position. Brest are sitting in 7th. Inter are sitting currently in 8th position. Arsenal are in 9th. Man City are in 10th position. They're sitting in the playoff positions, which is unbelievable to think about it. Juventus have just dropped down a position as we speak, due to the fact that Benfica are now they're nil. So they're gaining a point, which puts them above Juventus. Anyway, Celtic are now down to 15th, and the live. Jesus, it's changing all the time. This isn't good. I'm just going to get off this, get back into the chat. Celtic are down to 15th in the Champions League as it stands just now. So we've dropped 2 positions in the first 19 minutes of the games tonight. Anyway, Chilpel says Taylor gets caught out of position because he's asked to play inverted role. So is Alistair Johnston, Chilpel. Alistair Johnston plays the inverted role as well. So we're not saying the same about Alistair Johnston. I mean, there was a point last night where Alistair Johnston was right on the outskirts of the box, taking a shot. So anyway, Paul Baird says the pen. There was the gift from Aston Villa defender Baz. Was it a gift for the Aston Villa defender? Well, let's hope he gifts us something when we go down to Birmingham. And our numbers, Joseph says that Cameron Carter-Vickers cost the first goal. Poor clearance. It wasn't Cameron Carter-Vickers, it was Trusty. It was Trusty's clearance. If we play the rest of the games like last night, 14 points is the league will get, says Mobley. Chilpel says that was the weirdest penalty I've ever seen. Did Villa lose, says Paul? Yes, Aston Villa have lost. They lost earlier on today against Club Bruges. Seemingly it was a penalty. It was Trusty to give the ball away. Seeing that, Chilp, just reading it. Lanky, my motto is to how we start is how we finish. We count. Yeah, that's true. It is how we finish. And when we look at Celtic's games, 2 seconds. Start doing this. Fixtures. When we look at the fixtures that are coming up in the Champions League, obviously we've got Club Bruges up next on the 27th of November. They've just won this evening, so they're going to come to Celtic Park thinking that they can win. I mean, they'll be buoyed up with the fact that they've won 2, they've lost 2 in the Champions League, but Celtic are absolutely on fire, and if we maintain this level of performance that we have done coming into the Club Bruges game, I'm sure that we'll be pretty confident that we can win that game also. After that, we travel away to Dynamo Zagreb. I think that's maybe the hardest game that we do have. That is going to have a limited tickets at that game, and we were expecting 3,000 tickets, and it looks like we're going to get around about 1,200. So there's going to be an awful lot of Celtic supporters in Zagreb that are not going to have tickets. And then we head into December, and in December there is only... No, it's not. That is December. There's only one Champions League game in December, and that's the Dynamo Zagreb game. Then we go into January, and there's the 2 Champions League games in January. First off is the 22nd of January. We play Young Boys at Celtic Park, and I think by that time we will know roughly where we'll be in the Champions League. We'll know that if we've qualified or not. I think when it gets to the last 2 games, I think definitely the Young Boys game, I think if we win that, we'll know that we've secured hopefully enough to finish between 10th and 24th position. Hopefully, we might even be further than that. Hopefully, we might be going to Aston Villa. And I'm going to say that if we're in a position where if we go to Aston Villa and win away at Aston Villa, that it can push us into the top 8. There is an outside chance that can happen. There is an outside chance that can happen. And then, well, we're in it's in the laps of the gods when we get to that stage. It is in the laps of the gods, but we'll just wait and see. There's a lot of football to be played before then. We beat Villa. We'll play like last night. I think we will. How do we know Taylor is off? Celtic did not say they're going to announce a new contract shortly, says Wilson QW. It's in the media today. It was in the media yesterday, coming out of London, that the contract talks are at a stalemate. Stephen McCowan says that the talks with Kieran Tierney, we wish, the talks with Greg Taylor are at a standstill, and it looks like Celtic will move him on in January. Now, Stephen McCowan gets a lot of Celtic news right first of all. He always breaks it a couple of days before everyone else knows about it. So I'm going to say that what we've been talking about over the last 2 or 3 months is going to come to fruition. There's not often that I go with my intuition and it comes out wrong, especially when it comes to Celtic. I did say that the fact that he didn't sign a new contract in the summer with that to go, and look, they're saying it's a stalemate. He's out the door. You can look back to the way that Celtic have dealt with it before. Anyway, if he goes, and that's it. We get over it. I don't think there'll be many people crying when Greg Taylor does leave. Although he's a fantastic player for us, there's been a lot better players than Greg Taylor left Celtic in previous years. We always move on from a player. I mean, we're getting excited about the fact that Greg Taylor's not signing a new contract and he could be sold this transfer window. Nobody was getting excited about the fact that we sold a player for 25 million. I know we're not going to sell Greg Taylor, but nobody was saying, we need to keep him. Nobody was saying we need to keep Matt O'Reilly. Nobody was saying that at all. So I think that we get over this fake love once Taylor's gone. Taylor's not interested in new contract, says Paul Baird. It's obvious. It's more than obvious, isn't it? That Dortmund result was a freak result. Taylor wants before he signs a new contract. Yes, but Villa changed 6 of their players for tonight's game. Villa changed 6 of their players. Why would they change 6 of their players in the Champions League? That's a bit strange. Lanky says Taylor's contract is a standstill for months. And with over a month in here, I said Greg doesn't feel valued at the club by meaning a new contract at the start of the year. I don't think that. I think he's off. At the end of the day, I do think he's off. Chill, you're getting a top 8. Would be great. Dan Cassie says, I think that we'll beat Bruges. I think that we'll beat Bruges as well, to be honest. But they got a fantastic result tonight against Aston Villa in the early kickoffs. I'm just going to check the Champions League to see where we're sitting at the moment. We're still sitting in 15th position. Purely for the fact that... How have we went down to 15th? Because people are going up. It's got Benfica and everybody are going up 1 point. Benfica have jumped above us because they're now on 7 points. But this is the difference. Benfica are drawn this evening, right? They were sitting on 6 points. They're drawn just now. They're sitting on 7 points, the same at Celtic. But Benfica are sitting in 11th position because they're sitting on a goal difference of +3. Celtic are sitting on a goal difference of 0, big fat 0, so we're down in 15th. Goals can make it's the difference between 15th and 9th is only, it's small margins when it comes to goals. I've got to say Man City are sitting on a goal difference of +6, but when up to Benfica, there's only 2 or 3 goals in it. And I think that if Celtic go on a run and we can win games 2-3-1, if we win games 3-1 like we've done before, if we keep on getting these 2 goal advantage every game and in the next couple of games, it should help us massively get up that table. This is absolutely fantastic format in the Champions League this season. I mean, what it's done is it's basically when you look at Real Madrid are sitting in 19th position. Right, they're sitting on 6 points in 19th position. Real Madrid are beaten twice. Real Madrid never get beaten twice in the Champions League. Real Madrid are the team that are usually there unbeaten towards the end of it. And then when you look at Atletico Madrid are currently drawing one. They're drawn 1-1. Atletico Madrid have lost 2 games in the Champions League already. They've only won 1 game. They're sitting in 28th position. And we'll remember what happened last season when Celtic went to Atletico Madrid, which was tonight. It was tonight last year that we were in Madrid, because it came up on my Facebook. It was tonight last year, exactly a year ago, that we were sitting in Madrid. We would have been at the game by now. But anyway, when you look at some of the other teams that are below Celtic, I mean, you've got Real Madrid, Milan, PSV, Stuttgart, PSG, Bayern, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Atletico Madrid are the big ones. That you would think, Jesus, they should be right up there. But what this new format has done is given clubs like Celtic an absolutely fantastic chance. And I think that it will have put to bed any notion of big clubs now want a breakaway league. I think that the fact that the Champions League has changed to this format allows clubs around Europe to have a better opportunity and a better chance to get further on in the Champions League. And ultimately, for the big teams, you never know, the big teams might turn around and say, we don't like this new format, we want a closed group. And you're not going to get a closed group, and if you want competitive football at European level and the opportunity to make more money, well, this is the format that's going to be here for the foreseeable future. And I think that it gives teams like Celtic an absolutely wonderful chance. Chilwell says 100 million in the bank and we won't give a player a decent salary. Brendan Rodgers has to have some kind of input on the Greg Taylor situation. He has to be able to have an influence on what his valuation of a player is. Now, let's not put it all down to the Celtic board. I mean, the Celtic board will say, this is the wage structure, this is the wage offer. And the people upstairs will take advice from the football department. So Brendan Rodgers will know the limitations of Greg Taylor, and he'll know that Greg Taylor can go down and listen, Brendan Rodgers knows the limitations that he is under when it comes to getting in players. And I think that was maybe the issue in the summer, that our wage structure didn't allow players who really fancied maybe coming to us to take that leap, because we couldn't afford them. So ultimately we couldn't afford a player or two. But when you look at Greg Taylor, and I'm not blaming everything on the board for this one. I think that Brendan Rodgers will have, he knows what a player is valued and what a player should be paid on a weekly and a monthly basis. And I think that if Brendan Rodgers truly wanted to keep Greg Taylor, I'm sure he would put pressure on the board. He's the manager of the football club, for goodness sake. He's the manager, and if he's not allowed to determine which players we keep and get a contract, and maybe Greg Taylor, maybe his agent's asking for 50 grand a week. You never know, because Greg Taylor will be looking at players that have left Celtic. Ryan Christie, for instance. Greg Taylor will be looking at Ryan Christie and looking at how much these players all talk. When they meet up for the Scotland squad, they all talk. They all start mates on WhatsApp and stuff. And they'll be saying, fuck me, mate, I got 40 grand pay rise just for leaving Celtic. A week, 40 grand a week pay rise. And Greg Taylor will be sitting going, I'm not hanging about at Celtic when I could go down south. He's 27-year-old. Greg Taylor's now at the stage where he's like, I'm getting to the tail end of my career. I'm getting to the one chance. I'm at the age where I've got the one chance to get that one big move that will set me up financially for life. And that's why Greg Taylor will be thinking, I'm not quite, as much as he might love playing for Celtic, and as much as he loves Celtic, we're all going to jump. I mean, look, Matt O'Reilly jumped ship for the wages as well. Let's not deny it. But when Greg Taylor is offered X amount by Celtic, and he sees people like Ryan Christie going down south, the boy Hendry that left Celtic, I mean, he's on way more than what anybody is currently on at Celtic. These players can go and say, do you know what, if I get 4 good years on a wage down there, I'll have earned more in 3 of those years than I would have at 6 years at Celtic. So you've got to weigh it up, and it's just modern day football. Every Celtic manager has picked Taylor. He's been a competitor. He has been, but he's only had 3 managers. Michael Ross says, Taylor's last chance, big pay deal. It is. It's exactly the same. Everyone else would do the same. We would. He's 27-year-old. He's won everything he can at Celtic. He's won trebles. He's won doubles. You know, he's had a fantastic time. And he will know, and I think what was telling with Greg Taylor is that when he was walking around the Hampden Park, and you always see this with players, you know when they're taking it in because they know there's not many of these occasions left. And he was one player that I kept an eye on at the end of the game, and he's walking around, and you know that he's taking it in, thinking, this cup final, getting to this cup final is massive for me, because I'm not going to be here to get a league winners medal at the end of the season. I'm not going to be here to get the Scottish Cup. Getting to this final was huge for me because I don't know when I'm going to be back at Hampden. It'll be with the national team, but do you know, this is going to be my last final in Scotland. And Greg Taylor will know that within himself. He'll not talk about it in public, but the body language gives it away. Big Dom, you could say that about quite a few players. What's Big Dom saying? Taylor has been improved, but I don't think he is European standard. You could say that about a lot of our players, because a lot of the players it's their first season in the Champions League. It is the first season in the Champions League. Pubcat. I like Taylor, but there are better players out there. I worry about our Scottish contingent. If we lose them, we're going to lose them anyway, so we're going to have to bring in some kind of Scottish player to add to the squad, because when you look at it on a European level, the only reason that Stephen Welsh is at Celtic and travels with the team, and even Tony Ralston, the only reason that they're at Celtic is for the Scottish contingent. That's it. They know their place within the team. They know their place within the squad. I mean, there was people making noises about the fact that Stephen Welsh is unhappy and he wants to leave. I don't think so. He signed a 5-year contract was it the beginning of this season or the beginning of last season? I can't remember. Anyway, Stuart Ramsey's just came in the house. Ian says Taylor moving could be the chance for one of our young lads needed. Hopefully it is, but I don't see anybody that's going to come through the system that is ready to step up, and especially when it comes to Champions League level. You've got to look at when Kieran Tierney came through. When Kieran Tierney came through, you could see he was ready. You know, he was ready. He had the physique. I think Brendan Rodgers thinks that there's too many of the B team players. Far too many of the B team players do not have the physique that Kieran Tierney had at a similar age when he came through. And I think in the modern day game, I mean, when you look at the size of Alex Valle, when you can tell that that's a kid that's worked. He's worked at the gym, outside training. You know, he's worked on his upper body strength because he knows that that's part of the modern game, the upper body strength in the arms. And I just think that there's a lot of the younger players at Celtic are not at that level. Red Star equaliser. I'm just checking where Celtic are. Celtic are still sitting 15th. Celtic are still sitting 15th in the league. I take it. Red Star. Atletico are drawn as well now, 1-1. Anyway, I'm not hanging about much longer because I'm going to go and watch one of these games tonight. Because I wonder which one I think I'll stick the Barcelona game on, because I stuck the Barcelona game on the last time. Anyway, how long have we been on? Tell me there. I've been on for 43 minutes. Well, I've been on for 43 minutes. And we've got through all the Celtic news I was going to talk about. Barcelona are keeping tabs on the one and only, well, their player, Alex Valle. They're keeping tabs on him to see how good he's doing at Celtic, because they're thinking that they may need him as backup for next season, so they will not be loaning him out, or definitely not selling him to Celtic. Celtic talks have broken down. They're at a stalemate with Greg Taylor, which means there's only one thing will happen, and that's news that was coming out of London kind of last night and today. Celtic will have made an extra 31 million as it stands just now. An extra 31 million we've made in the Champions League, 30.5 million, which is an absolutely phenomenal amount of money. I mean, there was a few seasons ago that 31 million was probably Celtic's turnover. It's not so long ago that we were talking about a turnover of 30 million. I mean, when we got up to 60 million, we thought, well, we're doing great. Now that we're getting our turnover up to 100 million on a regular basis, you know why Celtic, there's so many directors at Celtic stuck it out for so long. And it also explains why there is two guys in Scotland that have second and third biggest shareholding in Celtic and have nothing to do with the club whatsoever. And one of them owns a plumbing company. Yeah, he owns a plumbing company. Anyway, we need to beat Bruges in Chilpel's opinion. Alexander says, still can't wipe the smile off my face for last night. The second best team in Germany outplayed them, was absolutely superb. Amazing amount of money, says Andrew. It is a fantastic amount of money that Celtic have made this season from the Champions League, 31 million. When we look at it, for the whole of last season, Celtic sold £32 million worth of merchandise alone. We've now equalled that in Champions League money. So if Celtic make 30 to 40 million Champions League money this season, if we make 30 million with merchandise, and then everything else that Celtic makes money with, we are going to make big money. We're going to make well over 100 million this season as well. Kaiser, I'm just jumping off just shortly because I want to go and watch some football. I want to go and watch the Barcelona game. Chill, I expect us not to lose that game. Talking about the Bruges game, I don't expect us to lose that either. Bruges and Villa game was rubbish, says Stuart Ramsey. Lynn says, big thanks for Ange building this foundation of wealth for Celtic and signing these class players. We do have to thank Ange Postecoglou, and he did use Celtic for one thing, and that was to get to the English Premier League. He was always going to do it. I mean, we've got family in Australia who knew of Ange well before us, and they always knew that he would jump ship at the first opportunity. Anyway, Big Bag Does says, Baz, when you say an extra 30 million on top of what? Well, on top of the money that we earned last year, if we take it in comparison to last year, we didn't earn nowhere near. We've earned more already in the Champions League than we did last year. So everything from now on is an absolute profit. So that's why I think that we're going to make even more money this year. Zagreb will be very tough. I think that's our hardest game. I think that will be Aston Villa down in Birmingham, because Celtic always do it. And Aston Villa, let's face it, you know, we've beaten better teams before when we've went down to England, so that's why I think that Celtic will win when we go down to Aston Villa. Anyway, that's me done and dusted for this evening. Thank you to everyone who has watched the videos tonight. And on that note, have a fantastic evening, Celtic fans all around the world. Now, where is it?
Lit. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the lit. Roll up to the